and everything. Taking that out and
No, no,
remake
That's
I don't know. It
Hello,
kind of
hello,
goes with the.
hello, everyone, and welcome to All the Rage Sports. We're already arguing before the game even starts. Uh, it's kind of hilarious, actually. We've been arguing for about 20 minutes now, so nobody can continue to get their heads on straight. But thank you all for joining us on All the Rage Live. We are live on YouTube. You have it posted to our Twitter account, our Facebook account, so come watch on our live. We will be posting this every week and getting more and more dynamic in our lives. Carly's video's already gone, so we're starting off really good. But anyway, we are going to start off
I'm
today.
eating nuggets.
We're about 9 days from the start of the season, I believe. I think that's correct. Am I correct on that?
8. You're bad at math.
Eight. Yesterday was 9 days. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, 8 days from the start of the season. We're gonna do a lot of like digging into the roster cuts today. Every team had to get down to their 53-man roster on Tuesday by 4 p.m. So today there was another additional like what I like to call like roster manipulation, trades, and other things that they could do to move people around. So we're going to talk a little bit about each one of some of the moves that we've seen and if there is any importance out there. We're going to do some fantasy talk for all you fantasy football lovers out there like ourselves. Talk about some of our sleeper picks and things along that lines. And then obviously we're going to talk about our hot takes for the season and some way too early predictions that we will definitely hold ourselves accountable to at the end of the season for sure. With me as always is Jace Junk to my left, Jesse Smith in my corner, and the lovely blank screen
lovely.
of my sister Carly Baden. So thank you all for joining me today. I think I want to just kind of start off talking about some of the cuts that we saw and some of the signings, maybe a few of the trades. So first off, I want to talk about Dalvin Cook visiting the Cowboys. He did end up signing with them. What does this mean for the Dallas backfield? Obviously, they're trying to recover from the year with Tony Pollard as their lead back, and who didn't have a bad season, just didn't have the season they were expecting out of him, I feel. And then moving on from Zeke, then bringing Zeke back in. Now they're bringing Dalvin Cook, another semi-aging, injury-plagued, four-time Pro Bowl kind of running back. How do you foresee this going for their backfield? Obviously, the start of the season is going to be one thing, but middle of the year, Jace, you look like you're already like seeming about this topic, really.
It really blows my mind that, and nobody can overrule the man, but just the fact that Jerry Jones continues to do the things that he does. Because in his senile old ass mind, like the joke we were making in the group chat earlier, oh yeah, Zeke and Dalvin Cook, that's a a Super Bowl winning backfield in 2017 or whenever they were both still relevant. No, it's really the only thing it really affects is Rico Dowdle fantasy owners. Otherwise, this is kind of like okay, yeah, they signed him, whatever. Doesn't really make him any better, in my opinion.
So I look at it as I feel as if Tony Pollard and the Zeke combo, now we're getting a slightly older Zeke and somebody that I felt was way more talented than Tony Pollard is. Now, obviously, he didn't get to play very much last year, got signed with the Jets, had like, I believe, a shoulder injury, and then something along that lines, and then just basically didn't do anything. And then I also didn't think they would see Breece Hall. I don't think they expected Breece Hall to be back that quickly from his injury and be able to produce the way he did. So he ended up getting cut, I believe, mid-season, if I'm not mistaken. So
I believe you're right.
Yeah. Out of work for a good bit, but obviously all the hype trains going, oh, he's in the best shape of his life.
Yeah,
this
this means literally nothing. Is the reality? Is that Dalvin? That it means literally nothing. is
be
a
fair,
big
they
name guy
signed
from
him
a million
to
years
his
ago.
practice squad.
Yeah, he's on the practice
Yes.
squad anyway.
Mhm.
He's not even
Right.
elevated yet. It's that.
Well,
I
that's
think
the
even if
idea.
he's in there, he's Zeke 2.0. I mean, like I don't know. Like at this point, he's so old. He hasn't barely
He's
played. He
29.
didn't make what
Let's just
was
be
he on a?
clear. He's 29.
Yeah, but
He's not
F,
that old.
he
Yeah,
said,
let's settle the fuck down. 29 is not old. Thank you.
well, for a running
It's old
back,
for a running back, but
it
yeah.
is when
Yeah.
he was on the Vikings. He probably got 500 touches every year.
Well, that's probably why he's with the Cowboys. It's just because he called up Mike Zimmer and was like, "Hey, remember all those times I saved your ass?" And he was like, "All right, I'll just we'll sign you to the practice squad." What's the salary? Like they make like
It's
100,000
league
minimum or
minimum.
something.
I think it's league minimum, and for a veteran, I
Yeah.
think it's like 1.2 million or something like that because that's what Russell
Yeah.
signed.
Yeah, he'll sit on the practice squad, and God forbid, Zeke or Dowdle or Deuce Vaughn get fucking hurt. Then they'll have to bring him up. But no, that's
See, I don't believe that. I think this is actually a little bigger deal than we're making it out to be. Obviously, not right away. We're not going to hear from him probably for the first 5-6 weeks. But Dalvin Cook is the third down back to Zeke Elliott's workhorse type of role. He needs that relief because we saw one of Zeke's more efficient seasons is when he had Pollard as his third down back to take the shit off of him. It wasn't his best season, but it was.
Oh, so yeah, that was also years ago too.
Well,
My thing is Zeke is literally going to be 20 yards on 15 attempts, and that's just what it's going to be, if not less. Like
Well,
he's
that's
going
the
to be
problem is
12
that
yards on 15 attempts.
yeah, that's the problem is that they basically signed the same running back. They're both old, worn down, beaten down, running to the ground running backs. I just don't really see how this is going to work. I do believe Jerry Jones is going to just ram it with Ezekiel Elliott because he just loves Ezekiel Elliott. He drafted him and he just gets fascinated by his own players and whether or not they're the better player. He just throws them out there anyway. In reality, I feel like they should probably go for like one of their younger running backs. I think they'd be better off just using Rico Dowdle or Deuce Vaughn or something. Like, get rid of these old guys. Like, there's no guarantee Dalvin Cook's even going to be called up in the practice squad. They could just release him if he looks like shit. So I wouldn't expect much.
All right.
yeah.
That's my
it's
thing
wild
is-
it's wild to think Zeke's going to need a third down running back when he's going to be out of breath just jogging onto the field to get to the.
All right. So
No, that's the thing is why don't they just stick with Dowdle and Vaughn? Both of them were fine last year. Why are we even doing the like Zeke and fucking Dalvin Cook and why are we even doing that? You have
Because
Vaughn.
Jerry Jones loves Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, yeah.
Because Jerry Jones is even more off his rocker and senile than Jim Irsay.
So
And he doesn't have to pay any of them, so he's like, thank God.
So 2 years ago in 22, Zeke had 231 touches. He's only had 3 seasons in his first 4 that he was over 300 touches. Then he went down. He was still efficient. So 2 years ago, 867 yards on 230. He averaged a little under 4 yards a carry. That isn't super great, but he still had 12 touchdowns. So you look at last year on the Patriots, you do remember, like, he ended up being their starting running back near the end of the season. Yeah, the Patriots were hot, steamy garbage, but he was outpacing Ramondre Stevenson for a good bit. He got 100.
Yeah, but what does that say about Ramondre Stevenson, in my opinion?
Was he
not wrong.
outpacing Ramondre or were they saving Ramondre for the next season on a lost season? And putting the old Ezekiel Elliott in to go get his 4 yards every run.
My guess is that maybe he was just a better pass blocker and they just had him out there on third down. He just kept catching a bunch of short passes. That's where a lot of his production came from last year.
I mean, he played 17 games. I don't know how many of those he actually started. He had his most receiving yards in a long time then.
Yeah, because he was. They
like, obviously, what is it? Ricardo, what's his nuts? What's his last name?
Rico Dowdle?
That's it.
Ricardo.
Yeah, Ricardo. Rico, same difference.
Oh my god.
It gets worse. It just gets worse.
Well, they're trying to utilize him as the pass catching back. I think that Dalvin Cook could actually crack this roster and get some playing time. I really could do. I think that I don't think these guys are necessarily washed if utilized correctly. I don't disagree with you that the Cowboys are not going to be good. Like they're not going to be a above average team. I feel.
No.
But
I mean, they might have one of the worst running back rooms in the NFL, though, so I feel like they're probably just signing bodies. They're just looking and hoping that one of them works out. I won't be surprised if they continue to do this throughout the season, if they keep trying to just take flyers on running backs with name value and hope one hits.
yeah. Well, let's look at some of the quarterbacks that were cut. Some relatively bigger name ones. I believe that Bailey Zappi got cut. There also talks that Jameis Winston and Huntley are going to get cut from the Browns. They're kind of looking for trade partners right now because they don't want to necessarily like full on cut them. If we see movement on one of these, out of all of them, who do you think's actually has some kind of possibility to get playing time? Obviously, it depends on where they go. But talent-wise, some of these guys actually could see some starts at some point in the season if they go to the right situation.
I think what's weird about that is, excuse me, sorry, I'm trying to eat, is that Taylor Heineke went for a conditional 6th-round pick to
That's
the
another one.
Chargers, and I think Bailey Zappi's, I'd rather have him. I don't know. Like, as a backup, how do they not have... Zappi did a fine job. So it's just like, why are teams not trying to get Zappi off the Patriots, or were they not really shopping him? They just cut him. Just seems weird to me that Heineke goes for a conditional 6 when I feel like Zappi's every bit as good as Heineke is in that low bar that they're at.
Heineke, I think, has also got plenty more starts and has a lot more experience in as being the starter, for a longer period of time.
Yeah, that's fair.
And showed some, winning as there was a point in time where I thought that Heineke was going to be the future for Washington there for a good bit. So I could see him going for a draft pick. That's also kind of how I feel with Jameis. I could totally see Jameis getting a 6th round, 7th round kind of thing, but I could see him going to Jason's not gonna like this one. Possibly the Raiders. Why not? Get a third running back or get a third quarterback that has experience winning and starting. I know it's not gonna be a savior kind of move, but getting that experience in there over a journeyman and a second year. Jameis has
Funny enough, I was actually going to say I can picture Jameis in black and gold now, right as we speak.
I actually thought about that too.
Yeah, so yeah, we're kind of on the same wavelength there. Just a random note: Desmond Ritter got cut. It's just kind of more humorous than anything. So yeah, gloss over that, move on.
Yep.
The thing that kind of amazes me about the Browns situation, and I know we're talking about, we just want football to start. We're talking about the Browns' backup quarterback situation. They want to keep DTR, but they want to move on from Tyler Huntley and Jameis.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to anybody? Because I'm not. The math doesn't really matter. I think I would.
No, expecting Deshaun Watson to last is wishful thinking.
Well, and for that reason, I'd keep a guy like Huntley who can step right in and. He was certainly not a Lamar Jackson, but he was serviceable enough to, get them by.
I mean, didn't Dorian or whatever DTR beat the 49ers last year whenever he had to start? I'm pretty sure that he did, so he's not that bad.
But I think didn't he have like one really good game, and then like he had 2 straight where he was just
Probably.
absolutely putrid. I'm pretty sure.
That's when Joe Flacco came in, I believe.
Honestly, any of them are probably better than Deshaun Watson. So, Jameis
Yeah.
Winston's probably better than Deshaun Watson is at this point. The man like steps on a Lego and he's like, I gotta sit out the rest of the season. By the way,
He's
send
like,
me over that $30 million check for
Throws
this
a
year.
couple
And
passes, his arm's sore, and he's like, "Well,
just hand deliver that check to my account, please, because I just don't think I can sign it right now.
do you think that's like one of the worst moves that a franchise has made in like the last few years? I feel like it has
I'm
to
not
be.
gonna lie, I can't think of anything besides maybe like
Wild.
the Herschel Walker trade or something that like has completely changed the dynamic of quarterback contracts, because every quarterback was trying to get that afterward, and every team was like, no, that isn't real. Like, that doesn't exist. That's
Yeah.
not something we can ever do. And now they've caught up on salary, but they ain't fully guaranteeing quarterback salaries anymore.
No, and well, they can sit there and say, well, look at what Deshaun Watson has done for the Browns with his fully guaranteed contract. He's done literally not. How many games has he started? Like
I'm actually looking at it
4?
right now.
It has to be so ridiculously low. Like,
The thing that I always go back to with that trade is just the fact that I can't remember everybody off the top of my list, but the Texans were able to turn that trade into, okay, we send off Watson, and they immediately turn around and get C.J. Stroud and Will
CJ
Anderson.
Stroud, yeah. Yeah.
Over the last 2 seasons, he has played in 12 games.
Yikes.
well, I mean, the first year he was suspended for the majority of the season, so that's why he was missing there. But
He wouldn't have played anyway. He got that fully guaranteed contract.
He doesn't
was like,
have to.
well,
That's the thing.
I'm just gonna check out. See you later.
He literally doesn't
Why
even have
would
to
you?
play.
Why would you play? Who cares?
That's the
He's
only reason
already
he even
viewed as a
chose
piece
to
of
go to the
crap anyway.
Browns.
Yeah.
Because the Browns were desperate enough to give him the fully guaranteed contract. That's the only reason he even went there.
Yep.
So I'm going to do when this podcast gets big is I'm going to get a guaranteed contract and then just save my voice.
Yeah.
I lost my voice. I can't.
We'll just
And,
get one of them
Go
Kelsey
today.
contracts, the New Heights contracts, the 100 mil for Amazon.
There you go. Yeah, guaranteed. I want my money up front.
Yeah, no. That
Absolutely
has to be like
insane.
one of the worst moves a franchise has like ever made. And I just don't even think he's what has he done in the 12 games he did start? Literally nothing. Jameis Winston's probably a better quarterback than him at this point.
Here's what you got to think. He has a passer rating of 81.7 in those games.
81.7.
Jesus.
Oof.
14
For a guy you paid
interception to
$250 million for?
Ratio. That is worth that money. You know?
Yeah.
Well, it's just not. It's the sole fact of. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Other than you think like the Herschel Walker trade was about the only one where you can really. Because I believe it was the same thing where they basically had to trade for him and then sign him and give him a big contract. But yeah, the contract on top of the Browns. I guess they haven't done too awful for themselves. I mean, they are like sort of on an upward trend a little bit. But think about how much
Imagine what
further
they'd
ahead.
be.
Exactly.
If they had
could have
Baker
C.J.
Mayfield,
Stroud.
what would they be?
That's what I just like. That's what bugs me. Is like, if you sit back and think about it, Baker Mayfield was their number 1 overall draft pick. They built the team around him and his abilities. They got him Odell Beckham and who else was the other receiver?
Jarvis Landry.
Landry. That's it. They got him strong receivers, and they were whiny because they weren't getting 130 targets every season because he was good at spreading the ball around. He won them their first playoff game in 2 decades or something. And immediately after that, they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we put all this into you. We're gonna go get the."
But sorry, we've had
happy
a rapist dangled in front of our noses that we can't say no. Sorry.
Not only that, but just there's wasn't it the was it Allstate or State Farm where Baker was doing the commercials at the Brown Stadium?
Progressive, wasn't it?
Progressive, yeah. I think that's what it was.
That was his
Those,
home and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, those were some fantastic commercials.
Those were phenomenal commercials.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Baker has then gone on to the Bucks.
Yeah, I was
He
gonna say,
jumped
guess what?
around.
He's still starting.
He's still starting. He's doing well. They have confidence in him. They have a good team around him. He won a playoff game for them. That's
I'd
more I
love to
can say
see
for the
like
fucking
I'd love to see
Steelers.
Baker's QB rating since he's been on the Bucks in comparison to what the 81.4 that Deshaun Watson's had in his 12 starts. Baker's got to be over 100.
With the Bucks.
Fun little fact: when I had to go out to the Ford dealership, I was sitting there with Homer waiting for the salesman, and he turned on. I think it was like the 2001 Jets and Raiders wild card game that somebody had on YouTube. And I think Rich Gannon had finished the year with like an 82.9 QBR, and that was second in the league. Then
Yeah.
Baker made
You've
it through
come
the
a long
last
way.
season. 64.3 completion percentage, over 4,000 yards, 28 to 10 touchdown interception ratio, 94.6 quarterback rating.
Well, aren't they glad that they have the little rapist that won't play football for them? I mean,
And
it's
honestly,
just sorry, sucks to suck. It's the Browns. Browns gonna Brown.
that was
Well-
Baker's best season. He had one other season where he had a better quarterback rating, and that was the 2020 Browns. He was 95.9. That was the most touchdowns he's thrown in a season. That was the most yards he's thrown in a season. That was Baker's best season last year with the Buccaneers. Imagine if you would have just kept him.
Yeah.
For legal reasons, we are not. Deshaun Watson was only alleged, and also for moral reasons.
Yeah.
You're a Steeler fan. I wouldn't go.
A little too biased, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
little.
Allegedly.
Well, no, I'm saying more.
That's one girl from a bar saying something as compared to like 15 different masseuses saying the same exact fucking thing.
They all matter the same.
You're a Raiders fan, aren't you? Let's. I
How many
mean,
murders do
we.
your team have under the belt?
Well,
Yeah. How many felonies in the
be
last
fair-
6 months?
Yeah, I mean, Henry Ruggs committed a violent crime against a woman, but he couldn't have. He didn't even see her. He was so drunk. So, you know.
That's true.
Jesus Christ.
That is true.
Oh man.
No, but
Is there any other
yeah, we
cuts
can all
that
agree
you
on the Browns
saw
being shit.
that could really see any kind of importance? The only one that I think Jesse brought up was possibly Noah Brown.
Or
Yeah,
I was saying
Noah Brown and Tim
yeah.
Patrick.
hmm
Yeah.
I think Tim Patrick's probably more of a surprise than Noah Brown is
I
because
agree.
the Broncos could probably use Tim Patrick. I'm not
Yeah,
really
that's what
sure
doesn't make any
why
sense.
they're getting rid of him.
Yeah.
And Tim Patrick, I mean, I know he's had injuries and stuff, but he's always had he's always been promising. I mean, why are you? I mean, maybe he just was absolutely garbage in camp. I don't know.
And from what I've read, like he's like a fan favorite player of the Broncos too, so it's just really surprising. My guess is that Sean Payton probably just wants to use his own guys that he drafted,
Yeah.
so he's just ready to move on.
Just not somebody Sean Payton drafted, so get him out of there.
Yeah, I think that might be what it is.
And
I mean,
can't fault the guy. Two horrific, leg injuries that people have had careers ended.
mhm.
And he had the back-to-back and came back. I mean, he might have lost a half a step or something.
Somebody will pick him up though.
He's on the
Yeah,
Lions. I think the Lions did. I'm pretty sure
Already?
The Lions
I thought he just got cut. Oh.
I think the Lions picked him and Noah Brown up on the practice squad. I'm pretty sure. Last I saw.
Correct. It does look like Tim Patrick is now.
Yeah, they picked up
on the
Tim Patrick
Lions.
and Noah Brown. I'm pretty sure they're both practice squad at the moment, but yeah. In terms of cuts,
I was driving most of the day, so I didn't get really a chance to look at my phone. But I didn't see really any big, huge. Like, it really feels like every year there is like one or two names where it's like, oh, holy shit, they cut that guy.
Yep.
This year it was just very much.
Yeah,
another day.
I don't
Not many
feel
surprises,
like there
no.
was a ton of crazy
oh wait.
surprises.
We do have Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We said
Noah
notable
Brown-
cuts.
Yeah, we said
Um,
Noah
surprises.
Brown actually went to the Commanders.
What'd you say?
Noah Brown actually went to the Commanders,
Oh, I thought he went to the Titans practice
which is
squad.
actually a fantastic move on Washington's.
No, yeah, I did. Yeah, you're right. I did see that.
Because
Yeah, I
Because
like
I
Noah
was thinking,
Brown.
oh,
Jahan
they got rid of
Dotson,
Jahan Dotson. Yeah, and
and now they pick up Noah Brown for pennies. Like
I think the only reason the Texans even cut him is just because their receiver room is just so deep, and they just flat out didn't have room for him.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
which doesn't make sense because in 2 years, Stephon Diggs not going to get the ball enough and 1 out. So
He'll be done playing in 2 years. He
yeah,
might be washed already.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I think
avoided him like the plague in the
Same.
draft.
Same.
it's gonna be one of those things where he's either gonna be like radioactive in fantasy, or he'll turn the clock back and anybody. I don't mean this in a bad way, but the cliche, anybody could play the X receiver in that offense and look good. I think CJ Stroud's probably going to make him look like $1 million fucking dollars.
Yeah, I can see that. So that's a good segue right into kind of our fantasy segment. Now, all three of us are in 2 leagues together. We have our lovely trophy league with the trophy in the back. I did finally get the plaque today, so it looks great in my room here. And then we are also in our big money winners 10-man league. Both are double flex leagues. I don't really have anything crazy in the points. I have a few bonuses for like deep touchdowns or deep runs, but nothing really crazy on the point variations. So I didn't feel super great about my draft in the big money league, and I felt really good about our 12-person league. But like, I want to talk about those last 5 rounds because those are where I feel like you get kind of your sleeper guys that can really make a difference on the team late in the season that you didn't think of. Last year for me, it was Sam Laporta. I got him in the 15th round last year, and he ended up being tight end number 1. So I do contribute a lot of my success last season to him. Now, what do you guys? Who are some of these breakout kind of either in fantasy or maybe just for their team that year? Who are these breakout candidates you see in the coming season? I will start off with mine because I know Jace is probably going to mention him, and I'd like to hear his take on it. But I feel like Zamir White is a humongous like fantasy running back value where he was being drafted, and I also feel like you're probably going to get 1,200 yards plus out of Zamir this season. So what is your take on that, Jace?
I'm not going to argue with you. I actually, and do not take my advice. I am a degenerate. I was just out of curiosity because he's getting no love. Like he looked I think he started the last 4 or 5 games last year, and I believe he averaged nearly 100 yards every game that he played.
Last 4 games, it was 69, 145, 71, and 101, 112.
Okay, so it's probably like 90-ish.
Honestly, it's not drastically far off. It was a little over 90 yards per game, basically.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, that was with a limited workload, and we were a little bit banged up and sort of patchwork at O-line last year. But yeah, the fact that people were being able to get somebody like him in the 7th and 8th round, and I think if he stays healthy and our O-line gels and works together, there's no reason. I think he could be somewhere in the 12 to 1,500 yard range. I think the big thing is, and the thing that's going to be an advantage for him, is they're going to do everything they can to take stress off of Minshew or whoever happens to be under center. And the best thing you do is you pound the ball, you establish play action, and then you start using Bowers and Mayer and open up that way. But it starts with Zamir, and I think that's a great pick. And I think a lot of people, if you're getting him, it's hell. I've got
you
like
took
the
him
8th round.
Early, and you got him in the 6th round in our home league.
Yeah, well, that
you
was
took him because people knew in our home league that we want, like other people wanted him.
Well, the sole fact of the only other Raider fan in our league was picking right behind me, and I was just worried about him. And then I was picking, I think, 3rd, so I needed him to make the snake and come back around. And I was like, nope. Sometimes you just gotta reach for your guy.
Reach a little bit. Yep. Well, you guys have any takes on him, or do you have anybody else that you are thinking is going to be kind of a breakout candidate this
Well,
season?
I have one quick one. I don't really understand. Nothing against Khalil Shakir, but I've seen a lot of drafts where he's going in like probably the fifth or sixth round. You can get Keon Coleman and like you can get him like the final round when people are taking like kickers and defenses. And I think Coleman will actually end up being far and away the number one receiver on that team by the end of the year with Josh Allen, and you're getting him after the 10th. That is insanity.
So, fun fact about the Bills with their receivers leaving,
What are you eating?
86 sweet tarts.
Nice. Okay. We had a question in chat
86.
wondering.
Oh, I don't have my chat up. I need to get that up. Oh, it's Carly looks like he's snacking on yo-yos. Yogos. What the hell is a yogo?
Can't tell me you don't remember Yogos.
What the
The
fuck?
little
I don't.
freeze dried yogurt bites.
Yes, the yogurt balls.
Yeah.
We were
Oh,
just talking about the
oh.
Welch's has like a Yogo copycat out right now. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Anyways,
Yeah, no,
what were we talking about?
I feel as if Shakir is going to be that person because, like I was about to say, 86% of their targets are gone now with the receivers they lost. Shakir is the only one that caught those balls last year from Josh Allen, and I feel like he could have a very breakout season. Um, you remember last year nobody drafted, Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and they were like week one waiver wire grabs that won you the league. I feel like you're going to get that with the the Bills receivers. And you might be right. It might be Coleman, but I personally think it's Shakir. And
I think
I drafted him in one of my leagues in like the 15th round.
we can disagree on that, but I do agree with your take. I think it'll obviously be Coleman or Shakir, but yeah, everybody else after that will be like, if you're not drafting one of those two, everybody else should be like, a wait and see, and pick them up week 2 and stash them and see what develops.
That's it.
I kind of actually think their number one's going to be Dalton Kincaid at this rate. I mean, he might be one of the only two people that are on the team that's even caught a pass from Josh Allen right now. So everyone else is brand new. Whenever Dawson Knox got hurt last year, Dalton Kincaid really started to get his target share up. So now that Diggs is gone, Gabe Davis is gone, I mean, he's going to go to Dalton Kincaid over the middle a lot. I feel like that's probably going to be who Josh Allen trusts the most, at least starting the season.
Gabe Davis gone.
Yeah, I actually like that take because there is a lot of tight end love this year. Like in past
It's
seasons,
deeper than what it normally is.
yeah, there was a lot of people like, if you don't draft Kelsey or Jimmy Graham or George Kittle, you're fucked in the tight end position. That's
Right.
kind of how it was in so many years. And
It's been like that for
like
many years. Yeah.
it feels like there's like 8 really significantly good tight ends with some rookies too that could show up.
Go Power Rangers.
I'll be
Yeah,
interested
you've
to
got.
see what Bowers' like snap share is with Michael Mayer to start the season.
I foresee a lot of 2 tight end sets. It's going to be. It's kind of ironic that we got rid of McDaniels, and I envision like a very much New England Patriots like 2000s, not with minus Randy Moss. Well, Devontae's Randy Moss role, but we don't have Tom Brady.
Right.
Yeah, like those years where it was just run the ball, play action. And yeah, Gronk or the murder.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that at all.
Well, I mean, you have teams like the Steelers that you would think Pat Freiermuth would be the guy and would still be the guy. And he's sharing the exact 50-50 amount of snaps with Darnell Washington. So, he is.
Well,
You do got to remember
I
It
think
is
that's
what
50-50.
Washington
I
did
saw that.
in college.
I think that's sort of the same thing. Is you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end with you guys because I think there's going to be an emphasis on the run game. So
If you remember, wasn't Delaney Walker and Jonnu Smith the one season for Tennessee?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
And they both had kick-ass seasons.
It's a rare thing that two tight ends are both relevant, though. Yeah.
But that was Arthur Smith's offense back in Tennessee. And if you
Yeah,
think
I guess
about
that's
it,
true.
in Atlanta, Kyle
Mhm.
Pitts has not had this, 1,200-yard season that everybody expected from him. But him and Jonnu Smith both had good seasons over there in a tight end relatively aspect. So, like, I could see Darnell Washington actually seeing some of his athletic ability out there. Do I think it's going to be fantasy relevant? Absolutely not. But I could see him getting a lot more play time out there. I feel like the NFL is going like full circle the way it kind of used to be. There was like that time where it's like you got to run the ball and play good defense and not turn over the ball, and you're going to win these games and you're going to go to the Super Bowl. And then there was like a point where it was like you got to have these star wide receivers and you got to be able to pass for 5,000 yards every season and 45 touchdowns, like the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady eras when they're throwing it up. And now I feel like we're going back to that like run first, play action pass, good defense kind of mode, because that's how, like Patrick Mahomes even said last season, that I had to change my whole like dynamic of how I played because now we were a defense run first type of offense and not everything on me. So I feel like it's slowly making its way back in that circle.
I think a lot of that's just when you look. To be a starting quarterback in the NFL, you're in the top 0.01% of anybody who's ever played the game. But I think when you look at like the say, and we'll just say top 5 to top 10 range. After that, there's a pretty big drop off when you start looking talent wise and like success in the playoffs, statistics, everything. And I think that's sort of just the recipe to sort of negate so or even like hurtful quarterback.
Yeah.
Is just try not to turn the ball over, don't do anything flashy, and just kind of hope your defense just keeps you in it.
I feel like a lot of it's personnel based too. Like if you don't have a bunch of good receivers, you're not going to be putting like lining up in 3 wide receiver sets all the time. You're going to be probably more run heavy, have 2 tight ends on the field, protect your quarterback if it's not one of your top tier quarterbacks. So I feel like it's really just depends on the situation. But I mean, both can be effective depending on how great of an offensive line you have, how good your personnel is. It really just depends on the situation.
Yep. So do you guys, Jesse, I'll swing it over to you. Do you have somebody that you're really looking at that maybe some people are sleeping on that you could see some real good fantasy relevance from?
I mean, I want to say J.K. Dobbins, but I mean, who knows? Because of his injury history, he's somebody that I'd grab really late just as like a dart throw because we don't really have great clarification as to who the starting running back is for the Chargers. The only thing I've heard all summer is that Jim Harbaugh just wants to line up and run the football every play like he did at Michigan, which doesn't make a ton of sense considering Justin Herbert is very good, but they also have like no wide receiver. So you have to wonder if one of these running backs are going to hit. And I feel like, I believe Greg Roman's their offensive coordinator coming from Baltimore. So if J.K. Dobbins can, actually stay on the field.
I know what you're going to say, that you find it funny that they got Greg Roman and that they signed J.K. Dobbins and
Gus Edwards.
And Gus Edwards, yeah. I was like, Harbaugh just stole all his brother's
toys. He just took all his players,
Yeah. He called up his brother and was like, hey, you... And I'm sure John Harbaugh is like over there wiping his tears with Derrick Henry in his fucking running back room, being like, "Oh no, whatever." Like,
took all my guys.
Stop! Don't come back.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good take because he can be. He can be a very efficient quarterback, or excuse me, a running back. If I was looking at the quarterbacks on Sleeper when I said that. Very efficient running back, but it's all about the health.
No.
And I don't think that's...
Which is a big thing because he has not been able to stay healthy pretty much his entire career, so...
Yeah, that's 100%.
Well, I mean, that's why he's being drafted in, like, the last round of fantasy, so when you're at that point in your draft, you're just taking upside, so... Yeah. He's the definition of a sleeper that could you can drop him after 2 weeks, or he's a hit, and there's a good chance he's going to be a very viable flex for you every week. So,
Right.
Yeah, being a fragile player and going to the LA Chargers of all people,
that's
Not ideal.
we're going to try and murder Tyrod Taylor with a hypodermic needle and all sorts of stuff like that. Not both
the odds
strategies
are
not
definitely
see if it pays
stacked
off.
against him, but you never know. That's why it's a sleeper / dark throw.
Right. Carly, do you have any nice little
I do.
sleepers you've been thinking of?
One person nobody ever talked about. Darnell Mooney. He's the number 2 wide receiver on the Atlanta Falcons depth chart. He was paid $40 million over 3 years to go there, and I'm pretty sure I got him for my very last round pick in fantasy. He had over 1,000 yards and however many catches on his rookie season with Trubisky. I mean, he didn't do much, but what were the Bears the last few years? And there's, other than Drake London and Kyle Pitts behind Darnell Mooney, their third wide receiver is Ray McLeod. So yeah, nobody's
Unfortunate
ever
for
talked
them.
about it. He was picked up in free agency for $40 million, 2/3 of it guaranteed over 3 years, and he's their number 2, and he could, before too long, you would assume, have Kirk Cousins throwing to him, which is yeah, why not?
It says
I don't see
Darnell
why.
Mooney locked in as
Yeah,
wide receiver too.
he is. Yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
mean,
I won't disagree with that, but I kind of, not to sound like Jesse did earlier, but that's going to be another situation where I think they're really going to try and feed Pitts, and also Bijan's going to be like, I don't want to say they're number 2, but they're going to throw him the ball at
well,
the
yeah.
crazy time.
There's gonna be
But
a
the
lot.
thing is, having a number 2 wide receiver when you have a competent quarterback, um, he literally is going in like the last round of fantasy drafts right now, and he's the number 2 receiver that's gonna have Kirk Cousins throwing to him before too long, and he's literally free. Why not? They signed him. They went and got him in free agency, gave him a decent amount of money. He's a number 2, and I mean, he was his best season was when Mitch Trubisky was throwing to him, and he got over 1,000 yards, and
Yeah.
it's just, it's hard to say really what it'll be, but I think of anybody, I think he's my prospect that no one has ever spoken about, the fact that he's their number 2
Who was he even
receiver.
on last year? Was he on the
He was
Bears
still in the
still?
Bears,
He
yeah.
was, yeah.
He only had like
Okay.
400 yards.
Yeah.
That was also, you know,
Well, whenever
tough
you
when
have
it's just
Yeah.
running.
Justin Fields throwing you the football, and
Justin
everyone
Tyson
else,
Fields,
Bagent.
Tyson
DJ Moore
Bagent,
literally getting every single target.
every single
So,
target.
That's pretty much
no, and I
And
just think,
Zimmer
I
for
mean,
that.
yeah, everybody likes to talk about Kyle Pitts. Do I really think that where's the proof of Kyle Pitts being
This
I
the
is
believe
his
player
his
year.
that people
rookie
think he
year
is?
he had 1,000 yards,
This is
I
his
believe.
year.
But
I mean,
Well,
it
it's
is
been
literally
this
like
year for
every
like
single
3 years.
year it's been his year.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
And
It's
it's
gonna be
just
different
like
this year.
I don't believe it personally. I mean, yeah, sure, he's gonna be a tight end that catches balls, but is he gonna be some crazy
Jace catches
breakout
balls.
season because he has Kirk Cousins throwing to him? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Just depends. I mean, Kirk Cousins made T.J. Hawkinson, or not T.J. Hawkinson. What's his nuts on the Vikings? I
T.J.
can't think of his
Hawkinson.
name.
Hawkinson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
T.J.
you got it
Hawkinson. Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking of someone on the Lions.
He was on the Lions. He was
Yeah,
traded to the Vikings. That's
that's
why.
what got
Yeah.
me there. Yeah, he
Yep,
went to the Vikings.
there you go. You can.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, no,
So-
but he made T.J. Hawkinson good. So I mean, I think
That's
Kyle
right.
Pitts could be good, and probably will be decent.
So
But
I think my last one, and it's a deep sleeper, and it's actually kind of dependent on somebody else's health, is Chuba Hubbard. I think you're going to see some progress with Young in season 2, but I think he's going to be a bust overall. But you saw Chuba come last year near the end and really start to, kind of get into his own. The last, let's see here, the last 6 games, 104, 87, 87, 43, 44, 45, and then 83. So he had 3, I think, top 10 performances in the last 4 of the top 10 performances the last 6 weeks there. So he really kind of came on at the end of the season. Did have 900 yards. He was not very heavy on touchdowns, but he was, he was the 27th running back last season. So I think him kind of having that starting role at the beginning of the season, because they do draft Brooks, but Brooks is starting off the season on the pup list. And they don't know how quickly he come back. I believe it was an ACL injury in college, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what's keeping
Can't
him
remember
off
off the top of my head, yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's what's keeping him off the field right now. I think they'd be wise to let Hubbard lead this offense and slowly work Brooks in, because you're not winning the Super Bowl this year in the Panthers. You're going to be bottom of the totem pole on the whole NFL pretty much, probably bottom 5 team. So why not let the vet do it, let the kid get healthy. But I could see him actually being the RB1 for the majority of the season for the Panthers. I got him in the 15th round, seen him go anywhere from 13th to 15th round. So I thought he was a humongous sleeper in fantasy as well.
What's weird to me about Chuba Hubbard, though, is that I'm pretty sure Miles Sanders is still on their roster,
Very
and
much
they
is.
paid him last year, so I don't really understand what they're doing with him. Like, if you don't like him, then why is he even still on the team? Probably too much money to cut him, but I
Yeah,
mean,
Garrett
unless they
Wilson
have a
doesn't
No, he's
make
going
any
to
resurgence.
take
sense
the
to me.
contract.
Yeah, exactly. But there is a new coaching staff. I mean, don't be surprised if he just comes out of the blue, out of nowhere, though, if Chuba Hubbard's just not getting the job done. Because Brooks is, I mean, well, he's on PUP, so that's at least 4 weeks.
Yes.
So
Yep.
they'll definitely start out with Hubbard, but I mean, Miles Sanders is on the roster. He's still collecting a check, so they got to make him useful at some point.
Get him in the slot.
Got to do something with him.
Yeah. All right. I do want to talk a little bit about fantasy, but I want to talk about running back rooms. So there's a lot of these running back rooms where you're seeing 2 dynamic people in there. And who do you feel is going to be the better fantasy performer? So a few of the places I'm thinking of are obviously Miami with Mostert and A-Chain. I also kind of want to talk about Kenneth Walker and was it Charbonnet?
Charbonnet. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
That's
so
another good one.
close.
Charbonnet. Then there's Pollard and Spears, another good duo that you could see. And then the Bengals' new duo of Chase Brown and Zach Moss. So just give me your takes on any of these, and it could be anyone I didn't mention, but those are kind of the ones that are sticking out in my mind of kind of running back battle early. Are more teams going to move to a 2 running back kind of system, or are these just we're going to find out by week 4 or 5 who's going to be the lead back on these teams? Carly, I'll start with you on this one. I always go to Jace first.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of teams are probably going to just start doing the multi running backs to make the running backs last a lot longer. Everybody's a lot more durable when you do that, and you're splitting it, and you have somebody I mean, and on top of that, with the Dolphins, they got a new rookie that's
Yeah,
they got
that's another
Wright,
Walker,
who
I believe.
also looks really good. So they're looking at like a 3-headed dragon,
Yeah,
down there.
Gojira.
Which I think is fine, and I think most teams should probably. I mean, it sucks for fantasy, but I think a lot more teams are going to start doing it that way, where you're kind of splitting the work up between multiple people. You have certain people in on certain schemes. You're not. Raheem Mostert's the pass catching guy, and then you have the other people that are bell cows, and it makes sense, honestly. Why have somebody on the field all 60 minutes
Right.
of a game to catch passes and be a bell cow and then get hurt after 4 weeks? And you know what I mean? I feel like the NFL is going to move a lot more closer to that
Yeah,
more often. But I mean, you don't really see very many bell cows anymore. Like what
that's
those
true.
it seems like it's more of like a thing of the past that every team just has their big bell cow running back.
Yeah.
That can catch a ball and do this or not catch a ball, but he still gets 150 yards and You just don't see that anymore.
I mean, they still exist, and I feel like a lot of the reason why
Few and far
teams use
between.
2 running backs is because they don't have a stud running back. That's why they use 2 running backs, because if they had a guy that could do it all, they wouldn't take him off the field.
Right.
So, because 2 running backs, a lot of the time, they become predictable, because whenever you see them bringing out their small pass-catching running back, odds favor they're going to throw the football.
Well,
Yeah.
fair.
So, in an ideal world, you have an elite running back that can do it all, but not everyone has that luxury, so that's kind of why the NFL has really gone to 2 running backs.
Yeah, it was like back in the day when the fucking Chargers used to trot out, Darren Sproles after, running it 2 straight downs with LT, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
golly, I wonder what they're going to do here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, let me go down the list of some of these two running back rooms, and who do you guys see having the better fantasy season? So I'm going to start with the Lions. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, and then we got David Montgomery. Last year, it was kind of believed that Gibbs was going to take over that backfield, and Montgomery was going to get ran out of town. And it actually kind of turned out the opposite way. And I think there was an injury with Gibbs late, but like
Montgomery got hurt late, actually. That's why Gibbs came on. Yeah.
Yeah, Montgomery got hurt, and he was holding him off for most of the season because he was playing so well. So, again, it seems like it's the same thing this year. What do you guys think on that one? Just quick answers, like who do you think is going to be the better performer this season? Jesse's like, I don't know, man.
I mean, it's hard to say because Dan Campbell loves David Montgomery. He's not going to go away. Like,
yeah,
they're both very going to be like startable in fantasy. I mean, Gibbs probably has the higher ceiling, but Montgomery's just the guy they're going to slam in the goal line into the end zone. There's a good chance he's going to get like 10 plus touchdowns, just like the past 2 years of what Jamal Williams did it, and then it was David Montgomery last year. Like, they're both very good, both very viable. It's just going to depend on who gets hurt and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Yep. I was somebody that bought in heavily to Jahmyr Gibbs last year, and I was literally ready to just throw my TV in the middle of the fucking street because every time they get inside the 10-yard line, or like you bet on Gibbs in your TD parlay, and he'd catch like a 95-yard screen pass, and they would take him off the field. David Montgomery would run it 3 times for 5 yards and score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wouldn't expect it much different.
Yeah, it'll be a lot more of that.
It's going to be funny because I think a lot of draftees drafted Gibbs in like the 2nd or 3rd round. And I think that Montgomery is again going to take over that backfield and be the bell cow type of player for them.
Well, he's more built to be a bell cow running back, really, at least. And they paid him, so I mean, he's making a lot of money to be sitting on the bench. So
this one's not as debatable, but we got Kyron Williams and then their rookie coming in. Now, Sean McVay has kind of said Kyron Williams is kind of our dude. Like, we're going to be that. Like, he's going to be the man. He was a huge waiver wire grab last year because, once again, nobody really knew what they were going to do in the backfield. Do you think the rookie's going to even cut into his playing time at all? Do you even foresee that? Barring an injury, basically.
His name's Blake Corum.
Thank you. I didn't have his name up and I couldn't remember it off the top of my head.
I'm here for it.
I do not personally see it just because of the history of Sean McVay. He's just the type of guy that wants to use a bell cow running back. I mean, you've seen it with Todd Gurley. And he loves Kyron Williams. He talks about him all the time. I guess the only concerning thing about him would be just yesterday, the report of him returning punts, which apparently he did last year. So I don't love that because it's just like, why are you putting your starting running back out there to return punts? But I mean, I guess if they're trying to save a roster spot to not have a punt returner, I guess. But
yeah, that's.
Yeah. I mean, barring injury, Kyron Williams is still going to be Sean McVay's boy, but I don't think it's not quite comparable to like Gibbs and Montgomery situation.
No. Now I was going to say in Green Bay with Jacobs and Dillon, but Dillon's now on season-ending IR, so I think whoever.
I want to say they drafted somebody, didn't they? Or I could be mistaken.
I believe so.
Let's see here. All right, let's look at Jacobs. Okay. This team. Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson, Marshall Lloyd, and Jara.
Yeah, all off-site season, I felt like I kept hearing about other running backs in Green Bay, but I guess I feel like everyone's like dropping like flies. So
Yeah.
right now, it's literally just Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I think that now
It
I
is.
was scared to death of drafting him in
Mhm.
this year, and then boom, now he's probably the greatest steal in the draft because of Dylan getting injured.
I mean, I was just put off
I
from
wouldn't-
from
I
listening
wouldn't
to
call him a
Jace talk
steal
about him.
I wouldn't call him a steal in the second round, but I mean, he's going where he would have gone, I think, regardless. But
So I guess yeah,
I mean, what
you're right.
would you
It's
put him
not
over
really a
like Derrick
steal,
Henry now?
but like I would not have put Jacobs in the second round, and people were drafting him.
I
very
wouldn't have
high.
either.
I would have put
it's where
him
you're going.
4th, 5th round prior to Dylan's injury.
More of
And
like a
then-
Kenneth Walker range, I feel.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because I
Yeah,
said before on here, I think they've ran off his wheels, and he's gonna slowly fizzle out. But now he's the guy. He's they got no one to compete with now.
Yeah, I think I would have looked at him in the second round if AJ Dillon was hurt before we started drafting. The fact that people were already taking him there and knowing that Dillon was his backup before he got hurt, I was like, as a Raider fan and knowing what you're getting with him, I was like, I'm not sure about that.
Matt LaFleur's history isn't to use just like a bell cow running back either. He's always been a play caller that mixes in multiple running backs. So, well, I mean, if there's just no better option, there's no competition for touches, it might just be Jacobs for the first foreseeable future until someone gets healthy. So,
Yeah, I mean that's it. The other one I'm looking at, and I'm trying to find the name. I think it's Benson, James Conner, and
Trey Benson.
Mhm.
Yeah, Benson there over in the Cardinals. Yeah.
So I've always felt that James Conner has been like this.
criminally underrated. At least that's what I think.
I don't know. I think he's. I don't think he's been underrated. I'm kind of the opposite. I always felt like he's had decent seasons, and everybody's like, oh, he's running back 12 or whatever the hell he's been. I just don't feel like he's as good as like he's been made out to be. And yeah, I might have a little biased Steeler fan kind of in that, but I don't feel like he's marked up to all he's actually worth. Now, that's the one that I'm kind of like, does he get some of his playing time cut into because of Trey Benson? And some people were drafting Trey Benson expecting this to happen. What do you guys feel? Do you feel like there is actually any kind of like substance to this? Do you feel like he can actually lose some playing time, or do you think this is Connor's backfield?
I think Connor is definitely Benson's a good late round pick just for the sole fact of you look at what Jonathan Gannon did with the Eagles. He was somebody that loved. You never knew who the hell was going to be in running back in that offense. You had Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. Just they'd pick some guy named Vinny from North Philly out of the stands and put him at running back if they could. But so yeah, I think Benson gets probably. I don't think it's a 50-50 split, but I could very much foresee that being like a 70-30 or a 60-40.
I think to start out, it'll be predominantly Connor's backfield, but he's also known to miss games every single year. So you pretty much might as well pencil him in for missing at least 4 games. And I feel like that's whenever Benson will start to get his workload in. And then once Connor comes back, it might like gravitate more towards like a 60-40, 65-35% split would be my guess.
I could see him actually being fantasy relevant, but probably not till after week 8. Like
It'll depend on game script too. If the Cardinals are constantly like behind, then they're not going to be running the football.
Script?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you have it already. Damn.
Well, no, I meant for game script.
I know.
Yeah.
So a couple more here. Washington Commanders kind of have an interesting one because they signed the corpse of Austin Eckler, and then they also have Brian Robinson Jr., who's been phenomenal for them since he recovered from getting shot. So like I still feel like this is Brian Robinson's backfield, and I feel like Eckler's going to be a complement to him, kind of on passing downs, because I don't feel like Brian Robinson has had a lot of strength in that area. So I feel like that's why they signed him in there, to be kind of the pass catching third down running back and give some veteran experience. But I do not feel like Eckler's going to have a lot of fantasy relevance this year. I think it's going to be Brian Robinson's backfield. But what do you guys take on that?
I actually, well, I was waiting for somebody
You're
else
good.
to go.
You're good. Sure, I'll start calling names.
No, I actually, this is one. I think it'll be Eckler's backfield for about 3 weeks, and then he'll get banged up, and then that'll be all she wrote. And then it'll be the scenario that you're envisioning there, where they'll come back, and it'll be almost like a light duty type of deal, where it's gonna be like you're gonna be, on third, crucial, downs, and like the third down guy and a pass catching back. I think his best days are very much behind him.
Oh yeah. You really think that he's going to be leading the backfield for the first couple weeks?
I think they will, just for the sole fact of they didn't bring him in to be the second guy. They will lean on him, and they will expect and it may work out if they get like Austin Eckler at his best, and he can stay somewhat healthy. Then Brian Robinson may not see the field a whole lot, but I do not. Kind of like we were talking about J.K. Dobbins earlier. Extremely talented, but just they say the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
That's something that he has not proven himself to have in his career. So,
Anything to add on that one, Jesse?
I mean, I don't have a great feel for Washington's backfield. I personally like Brian Robinson. I kind of just don't know if Eckler has that much left in the tank.
I really
He'll
don't
probably be like more surprising than what people think. I wouldn't be surprised if like Brian Robinson rips off like a 40-yard run, and then here comes Eckler in at the goal line to just steal the touchdown and squeeze in there. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of their rushing production comes from Jaden Daniels. So I mean, there's a very good chance that he's their number 2 running back. So
Yeah.
it's difficult to predict.
All right, next one I think is Carly, are you actually here?
Yes, sorry, I had to go get our sister. That I had no idea. So sorry about that. Pretty standard procedure, so
Yeah,
don't worry.
So you got anything to add on Eckler and Robinson?
I not really too much to add. I would just say my take on Brian Robinson is he is the most boring running back in the league. But as somebody who plays fantasy, you want him on your team because he's going to score you 10 to 14 points every week. And it'll be the most boring 10 to 14 points you've ever seen in your life, but he is not
It
a
still
flashy
counts.
guy.
Yeah.
He's not anything, and he's boring, but you know what?
Consistency.
That's just the way it is. I'll be back at my computer in a moment.
Okay. Cincinnati and Tennessee, I think, are the last two I really want to look at. So I'm looking at Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Now, Chase Brown intrigues me the most with them, and it's because of his late production last season. He was more of the pass catcher last season. So he didn't have a ton of rushing attempts. In fact, he didn't have any double-digit rushing attempts until the very last game of the season. But he usually had three or four target. Well, it looks like 3-3-2-2-2 targets, and produced relatively well in that. Only had that one super long touchdown that he caught. I think it was like 65 yards or something like that. But he's a young guy. This is his second year. And they bring in Zach Moss, who served pretty well in the absence of Jonathan Taylor, and still kind of even performed after Jonathan Taylor was still getting his sea legs together. So How do you foresee that backfield going? Do you think this is going to actually be? Because I feel it's going to be an even split. I feel like you're going to see Chase on the passing downs. You're going to see Zach Moss on down 1 and 2. He's kind of the hard nosed kind of runner. So I feel like that's the way it's going to be, very stereotypical running back room. But what do you guys feel? Jace, will start with you on that one.
I wouldn't disagree, but I think, in my honest opinion, Chase Brown showed enough in those last couple of games at the end of last year. I think he's by far the more explosive and talented guy. With Zach Moss, he's dependable. You know what you're getting, but also the defense knows what's coming. It's going to be a 3-yard gain up the middle.
Yeah,
I think it will be kind of like we described earlier with Montgomery and Gibbs. I think you'll see Chase Brown a lot, like down the field. Like I feel like that's what a lot of teams are going to start going to. You're going to have the guys, who can play 3 or 4 downs, and be the pass catching guy and still run between the tackles. But as soon as you get down to the red zone, then you sort of put your bulldozer in. And that's the role I see for Zach Moss.
I can see it.
I pretty much agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know any other way it's gonna, and I feel like people are talking about Chase Brown being really fantasy relevant, and I just don't buy that quite yet.
Yeah, this has been like one of the more confusing backfields to me that I've just had no idea what to do with, because I mean Zach Moss was like incredibly productive with the Colts, but they also have more of an elite offensive line compared to the Bengals, so I just don't know how productive he's actually going to be. Yeah, my guess is like whatever situation they're in is going to determine what running backs out there. It's going to be solely if they're trailing, Chase Brown's going to be on there because he's going to be the one catching passes. And if they got a lead, they're probably just going to be hammering Zach Moss to wear you down. So I really think it's just going to depend on game script with that also.
Yeah. The next one is Tennessee, and that is bringing Pollard in. But you also have Spears, who's got some experience in that. So
they're the rookie too, right? Vidal.
Yes, I believe you're right on that. So they're replacing Derrick Henry's 350 carries each.
I think Vidal's the Chargers actually. But...
Oh yeah, you're right. I thought they had a rookie too.
They may. Let's take a peek here. Right, we have.
I was thinking Vidal, but I might be thinking something else.
So Pollard, Spears, and Julius Chestnut.
Oh
Not
yeah.
To be confused with Joey Chestnut.
Yeah.
Two fantastic athletes.
Two phenomenal, just amazing athletes. So yeah. I have a hard time with this one also because I'm like, I don't know that Pollard is a very good number 1, but it might actually work out better for him having Spears as his relief, so you may see Pollard perform better, more like the season he last had with Zeke in him, and not like last season where it was just him,
Well, in Pollard's defense, that he literally broke his leg in a playoff game, which was the same year. Like it was in 2023, and then he still was ready to start the season at the beginning of the 2023 season. So expecting a guy coming off a major injury to be what he was in an 8-9 month span is just not realistic. And I feel like a lot of Pollard's problems was just you don't come back from a major injury right away.
No, you're not wrong there. So, I mean, I personally drafted Pollard in one of my leagues, and I wasn't excited about it, but it was kind of the best option there. So I hope that Spears doesn't steal a lot of playing time from him, but I don't know what the dynamic is going to be. What do you, like, any predictions on that one?
I actually have a really bold prediction. I think Tajay Spears is the guy before the end of the year in this backfield, just for the sole fact of Pollard has had a little bit of an injury history, and we've seen this historically. Zeke obviously had a good finishing run last year, but the Patriots were just a fucking dumpster fire. I almost want to compare it to DeMarco Murray. How many games did you hear about him having after he left Dallas?
We got a hot take from
None with the Eagles, that's for sure. But
we got a hot take from Cameron saying that Pollard is going to make Dallas wish they tagged him.
Mm.
well, I mean,
Well, of course he's
he'd
going to
be the
fucking
best
disagree.
running back on the Cowboys right now. So
Yeah, very true. Very true. I
Yeah,
don't know if there's
I
much
foresee.
more running back rooms that I got any dynamic battles going on after that.
Not that I can think of.
Oh,
Sorry.
something to share there, Carly.
something to share? Yeah. Like,
Yeah. I can't. Fucking. It's Bria. She's going out of her way to try to make me laugh on this podcast, and you wouldn't even believe the little doodles that she did over Jason Jesse's faces. I'll be sending them to the Discord, but
okay,
I
fantastic.
apologize. I
Can't
didn't
wait.
realize I was
Thanks, Bria.
not muted.
Yeah,
Thank you,
she's basically
Bria.
working on like an intro for us.
Yeah. Are we still doing hot takes? My
Yeah,
apologies.
so that's what I'm going to go to next here is some of our hot takes here.
Let me go first because mine's different than what I said it was going to be earlier.
Okay, go for it. So these are just like out of the blue hot takes on the season, just things we are making bold hot takes on. So go for it, Carly. I'll let you start.
So my original one was going to be that the Cowboys finish 8-9, but it's not really that hot. It's
Kind of a boring hot take.
lukewarm, if that. But so for a hot take, not saying that I absolutely 100% agree that this is how it's going to go, but for a hot take that I think could turn out, there's a chance. It's slight, but there's a chance. Is that the Texans fall a little bit. They falter. They stumble. They're going from worst team in the league schedule to winning their division schedule. So while I feel like they bring in all this other talent, they bring in Diggs, they bring in all this stuff, but I feel like there's a chance that they still just kind of get knocked down one little peg. I don't
Now,
think.
are you saying losing record, or are you saying
No,
lose the
I'm just
division?
saying
Are
that
you
they're going
saying
to be
don't make the
knocked down a
playoffs?
peg from what they were last year. They're not going to be as crazy as they were last year, I don't think, because they have a whole different new schedule,
They
and I
also
feel like
have
the
a
shell shock
year.
of going from worst team ever to winning the division, the shell shock of that schedule change is enough to kind of
You
knock them
also
off
got
their
a
horse a
year of
little bit.
film on C.J. Stroud now.
Yes.
and the
I
sophomore slump does exist. So
Very
yes.
much so.
So I think there's an interesting possibility that the Texans just kind of get knocked down a peg this year from what everybody thinks. Everybody expects them to just come out and be exactly what they were last year and be the most explosive team and be, in contention for a championship game and shit like that. And that's just kind of how people seem to feel them out right now. And just be based on last year, but last year they had the worst team in the league schedule.
Yeah.
Well, they did do good against good teams last year too,
Right.
but that doesn't necessarily mean
So
that
are you
an entire
saying
schedule
a
of that.
losing record, or are you saying missing the playoffs? Like what? Because
yeah,
I'm
this is going to be considered a
All
hot
the
take.
rage
You better
I'm
stay there,
saying
finishing last.
missing the playoffs is more likely. I'm not saying a losing record, but I'm saying missing the playoffs. I guess. I just think they're going to get knocked down a peg. They're not going to be what people think that they're going to be.
Okay. Jesse, you got one for us.
I do, and I personally believe. I mean, it's a hot take because people won't agree with me, but I personally think Caleb Williams will end up not being that great. I believe Jaden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback that comes out of this draft. I think he's going to have a better season than Caleb Williams. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I would compare it to like RG3's rookie season that he had with Washington whenever he first started. Caleb Williams, UFC quarterback, I'll believe it when I see it.
Gruden down there to throw him back out there with half an ACL.
Yeah, exactly. Better situation. I love his rushing ability. there's a good chance that he's just ends up being the better quarterback, in my opinion.
I actually like that one because I
Mm-hmm.
personally was not big on Caleb Williams coming out.
Neither was
I
I.
watched a lot of people talk about his like decision making and him just like getting pressure and then him just like bailing on plays and not reading defenses and just kind of giving up. And there was a lot of videos they posted as proof on that. So like I personally, I actually agree with your hot take on that one a lot.
See, and the thing with Daniels is the RG3 comparison is kind of funny because the knock on him, if you watched him at LSU, he left himself out on a silver platter to get crushed so many times at LSU where he's like, I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to make this throw. And then he gets his fucking lunch back.
And that'd be why he didn't last.
Exactly. So, yeah, he could very well be on an RG3 career trajectory. Let's hope not for his sake.
Yeah.
But don't forget just how good RG3 actually was in his rookie season.
Yeah, before his leg.
Like that was the only time I recall Washington ever being like exciting to watch in my life. So.
Yep.
Yeah, one bad snap and it's all it took.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, you can say that with anybody, so anyone can get hurt at any time.
That's it. All right, what you got for me, Jace?
Now this is dependent. Put an asterisk next to it, but if Jamar Chase does not report back to the Bengals and he holds out to start the season, they will finish dead last in the AFC North and they might win. I will put the over-under at 5.5 games.
I think I agree with you on that one. If Jamar Chase isn't there, Joe Burrow, and we kind of discussed this beforehand, they have done everything possible to try to kill Joe Burrow. Like, not addressing the line, drafting Jamar Chase instead of, a staple tackle. I don't remember who it was that went right after Jamar Chase. Now that I'm thinking about it, but I remember there was a lot of them bitching about the tackle going after them and when they should have taken. They have not done anything to address that line and help Joe Burrow. Now you take away his best weapon. Now you've franchise tag T Higgins. Like, yeah, I don't know if he'll pull a career suicide Le'Veon Bell move of sitting out the whole season. But it's obvious that Jamar.
He gives me that vibe though. Like I feel like he might. Like I don't know.
Sure
The stuff
that people have learned from that.
I kind of wanted to say about Ayuk.
I think he's gonna sign, but Ayuk that is, but
yeah, I mean,
with the 49ers, I should say.
Problem is, it's a lot different environment after CeeDee Lamb gets a contract that has a $38 million signing bonus.
Yeah, but Jamar Chase is at
compared to
least
whatever
yeah.
Ayuk and them were talking about 3 days ago.
The problem
Well, yeah.
is with all of them is Chase still has 2 years left. He's got his 4th year and his 5th year option.
Well, he's looking at the receivers that were drafted with him, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, and they both got paid already. So he's sitting here wondering where his money's at. But unfortunately, he plays for the Bengals, which is traditionally not the best well-run organization.
Yeah.
Ownership is not great. So, I mean, you're on the wrong team, my guy. I'm afraid you're probably waiting.
Yeah, and I don't think you can get a trade partner for him if they ever were to get to that point.
If I were the Bengals, I wouldn't even do it. Let him sit out. If he wants to miss his game checks, that's his choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a rough story. Ayuk, I think, will get settled in this.
And they got rid of Boyd.
You're right. I think Brandon Ayuk's situation will get fixed this week. I think you're gonna see which one, but there's a lot of beat writers and everybody talking it's to the point now where Ayuk is just being really selfish and dumb.
I mean, he thinks he's better than what he is. If he thinks he's getting CeeDee Lamb money or Justin Jefferson money, he's dreaming. It's just not happening.
Not getting the top.
Especially on a team like the 49ers who have a lot of expensive players. They don't have the cap space to spend on a slightly above average wide receiver.
Yeah, that's it.
They're an aging team that has to win right now.
We have a good point on Chase in the chat from Cameron, saying despite the money, Chase won't want to play with any other quarterback.
That's very true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's his guy.
Yeah. Yeah, always has been. Yeah, no, that is very much a good point.
All right, so I'm going to go to my hot take here, and this is actually kind of rough to say. I feel like Aaron Rodgers leads all quarterbacks in passing yards this season, and he has 35 plus touchdowns this season.
He will certainly have to play more than 2 plays.
100%.
So we'll see.
So obviously it's all bearing on that, but I think, and then he leads them to the playoffs. I think they can get to the AFC Championship. So those are my hot takes on the Jets. I don't know that they go Super Bowl, but I think that he could possibly get them to the AFC Championship. So I'm going to take that as my bold hot take.
Oof.
I don't even know how to respond to that because things always go wrong with the Jets. So, you know, it's
That's
just
true. They're basically the Browns.
of the AFC.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're the
Yeah.
AFC too. Never mind.
Well, basically the Browns of New
AFC.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since
Everything just
Rex
always goes
Ryan-
wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, Cameron said if A-Rod stays healthy, they win the East.
See, I
Yeah, because I just don't think the Bills are as strong. I don't think the Dolphins are as
Yeah,
strong.
the Bills,
But
their window is gone. I mean, let's all just be honest here. The Bills window closed like 2 years ago. I think. Good luck. I mean, who's he
think the
throwing to?
Dolphins just don't have any defense. They just,
Oh, they
Dolphins
do
are
not.
the closest,
it's
but
going to be all
the
shootout
Dolphins'
games.
defense is going to be bad.
If that
Well, they're
was,
probably going to score 45 points a game. So
Well,
Yeah,
they're going to have
so-
to also.
they're going to have to.
they're literally they're going to be playing like they're in the Big 12 back in the day when it was
Mhm.
like Oklahoma versus Texas A&M when Manziel was playing in the final. Your final from Lubbock, 63-61.
I mean, Chiefs had a shitty defense for a few years there and still won Super Bowls because they could put up 50 points every game. So
Yeah, but fuck them. Who likes talking about this?
I
Move
mean,
on.
Yeah, we don't talk about them.
Okay, so let's actually lead into that. Do you think that it is a possibility that the Chiefs can be the first team to three-peat?
get closer to your mic. You cut
Yeah,
out
you
at the
cut
end.
out.
He cut out the last second.
Do you think that this is a possibility that the Chiefs could be the first team to three-peat?
I mean, possible, yes, because they already
yeah, it's
won 2 in a
possible.
row. Sure, but I mean, would I bet on it? No, I would not.
Because, like, there's a lot of people saying that their team is drastically better than last year's team, and
Well, I mean, they did cut Kadarius Toney, so that is
Well, yeah.
a massive
Moving
upgrade
forward.
already.
A lot has to go right to win a Super Bowl, and expecting like everything to fall in your favor 3 years in a row. And I don't want to say it's all luck because it's not, and I get that they have Patrick Mahomes, but I mean, odds favor are they going to win the Super Bowl 3 years in a row? No. Is it possible? Yes, because who's beating them in the AFC? I don't know. But until someone
do you
does it,
Jesse, do you think with your Jets hot take that the AFC Championship game is the Jets
Jets,
and the
Chiefs.
Chiefs?
did you see that, though? How weird of a
It'd be
game
so
would
much
that
fun.
be?
But
That would
to
be
be able
fun.
to see,
Yeah, I'd be
Because
down.
the weapons at the Jets' offense and defense are fantastic. It all depends on A-Rod.
It'll never happen, but it would be a
I
fun
think it
one.
would be one hell of an
Because
interesting,
it would just be
interesting AFC Championship
yeah,
game.
but the Jets defense is capable of like stopping the Chiefs. I feel they would just have to get to that point,
Yeah.
which is the hard part because expecting Rodgers to make it that long is probably wishful thinking.
I certainly hope so because if the Chiefs three-peat, it is truly a sign that God has forsaken us and turned his back on us.
yeah.
Yeah, we
There,
replaced
he
friggin'
no
Tom
longer
Brady
cares
with
about us, and
Patrick
he has
Mahomes.
abandoned us.
I just,
Sorry,
I just
Carly,
want, I just want some randomization of who's going to be at the top every year. I just wish.
Well, yeah.
And
Give me
that's what
the
the
Jets and the
salary cap
Texans.
was made for, is to make it so you didn't have this. I get that, but like, there's so many ways to manipulate the salary cap now. It's like every.
Well, the thing
year.
The thing is the Chiefs aren't even close to the most talented roster in the NFL. It just doesn't matter. They just have the better coach and they have the better quarterback, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
And that's what happened with the years and years of the Patriots doing it.
Yeah, that's how it was with the Patriots too. I mean,
I'm just so tired of that. Like, can we get some other friggin' coaches in there that can do that? And,
I'm sorry. You're tired of it? You're fucking tired of it? I see it
No.
twice a year, motherfucker. Do not get me started. I loathe the sight of that broccoli-headed, Kermit-sounding fuck on my TV and that fat fucking cheeseburger eating walrus son of a bitch coach of his on the sideline. God,
Yeah,
God.
Give me
that's one
some
thing
of your
Cameron said
nuggies.
too. Is maybe if Mahomes stays healthy, but I feel like defenses will inevitably figure Mahomes out. But I feel like
Mm.
if defenses were gonna figure Mahomes out, it would have happened.
Would have happened already.
I don't know. I mean, if anybody
It's
really
hard to
gave him the key to that, would have been the Raiders on Christmas Day. I mean, we basically just played man, had a spy, and then just blitz and just rush the shit out of Mahomes and make him so uncomfortable he wants to cry on Christmas Day on National.
Yeah.
Be great. All right. Lastly, some bold predictions for the season. I know we had kind of hot takes, similar aspect, but like, what are your boldest predictions? Like, for instance, let's just make our Super Bowl picks right now. Are way too early. Season hasn't started. Let's make our Super Bowl picks. We don't have to pick winner. I just want to know who you think's going to be in that game. Jace, go.
Hi, I'm insane. I wore this attire for a very good reason. It's because this is going to sound insane, but the Miami Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl. They are going to have, with that offense, you could have the 74 Steelers out there, and they'd be like, "What the fuck do we do with these guys?" Like this is going to be with Hill and Waddle as long as Tua can stay healthy. I do, however, I do think the Lions go back, and I think they get redemption, and the city of Detroit can rejoice. They can finally have something to celebrate other than the fucking Red Wings all those years.
Are you just saying right now that it's going to be Miami versus the Lions in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
I love it.
I
would love that.
I actually
I would love that. I was gonna say the Lions too.
I was also going to say the Lions. So
yeah.
clearly everyone's on the same page.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really think like we've said, you can't deny, as much as I fucking hate them, you can't deny the Chiefs. They are a great franchise. They're a well-run franchise. They're not the most talented, but they have the talent in place. But like I've said before, Brady and the greatest coach and quarterback duo of all time didn't win a Super Bowl every fucking year, and they never three-peated. Like Jesse said, it takes so much to go right. And I think this is the year where I think a couple of things fall apart. You see some injuries. They cut Kadarius Toney. They're relying on fucking Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce, basically, and Isaiah Pacheco.
A 34-year-old Travis Kelce at that, too.
Yeah.
God, I'm
But I
looking
think this could
at
just
the
be
NFC and like, who the fuck else is there? It feels like it's the Lions or Niners, and I feel like you guys are right. I feel like it could be the Lions on this.
I think you could throw the Rams and the Seahawks into the NFC conversation, but
I'd throw the Eagles in over
Eagles
the Seahawks.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm saying
Yeah.
like
More
what Jesse,
bold,
I'm
yeah.
agreeing with him.
Yeah.
There's after the Lions, there is like a steep. Then you're starting to get into like
that's how it is in the AFC when you
your-
look at the odds there. It's after the Texans, it's a cliff. Well, I guess the Jets, if you want to say them, but
Wait, did you say the Texans?
yeah,
The
the Super
Chiefs.
Bowl odds right now for the AFC champion odds are Chiefs, Ravens, Bengals, Texans, Jets, Bills, Dolphins, and then Browns, Chargers, Jaguars. It's just like
Why are
after
they
the
so
Dolphins
high
is
on
an
the
absolute
Bengals?
cliff.
Why
I
are
get
the
because
Joe
Chargers
Burrow.
high?
Like I get.
Say again.
Yeah, what did you say, Jace?
Why are the fucking Chargers that high?
Yeah, like
Chargers are underneath the Browns at plus 2100.
gonna say, I
And the
don't know
Browns
how.
are plus 1700. Dolphins at plus 1000. And then the Chiefs are plus 350, so that's the difference in the odds.
Surely the Ravens are up there.
Don't worry, it goes Chargers, Jaguars, Colts, Steelers, Raiders, Titans, Broncos, Patriots.
What are the Raiders and Steelers odds? Just
The Steelers you're gonna be upset about this, but the Steelers odds are Plus 2,500, and the Raiders are plus 6,000 as the next team.
Oh, what the horse shit is that?
That is what Vegas says. That's what it
Jeez.
is. That's the average over
Put that bet in now, Jason.
7 different sports books. Yeah, and that's, I mean, on the sports books, that's where the cliff is. But I mean, the cliff is after the Dolphins, where it starts: Browns, Chargers, Jaguars. But it's just like any of these, like you don't want to see the Chiefs there, so you don't want to say that. Obviously, the Ravens could go. It's just so hard to pick an AFC team. I think the Lions are obviously the consensus here on.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but yeah, I think it'll be an NFC Championship game of the Rams and the Lions, and I think
Yep.
it will be an AFC Championship game, barring injury, of the Jets and the Chiefs.
Hmm.
And I think we see the Lions and Chiefs at the Super Bowl.
Could somebody get a capture of the chat of Cameron saying he agrees with me on something?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, thank you.
Much as I hate it, I agree with Jace. Minnesota
You
and
don't
Sam
hate it, though.
Darnold. Yeah, Cam's bold take is that Minnesota and Sam Darnold upset everyone.
Can you imagine?
I like that.
Anything to just spite
You know what,
Jets
though?
fans even more.
I will make one last hot take. I think this is the best season of Sam Darnold's career. I think he will have his best season.
I mean,
of
it's a
his
low
career.
bar.
It is a low bar.
That is wow. You're really going out on a limb there with that hot,
I know.
sizzling
It
fajita
is,
hot take.
it is a low bar.
All right, let me go a little further then. Hold on. Let me take a look
I don't
at
know.
Sam.
I like Jace's pick of the Lions and the Dolphins. I don't know.
So
We
Sam
My thing with
officially
the
have a viewer from
Dolphins-
Brazil.
If
Sam
anything else,
Darnold's
I mean,
best
if Joe
season-
Burrow's healthy and Jamar Chase is in, maybe the Bengals and the Chiefs in the championship game, and the Bengals take it again, and they play the Lions and lose again. I'd love that.
Okay, so Sam Darnold's best season was 3,000 yards, 19 to 13, 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Okay, I
That
see
is a
him
low
throwing
bar.
for 4,000 yards this season.
Did you just say 4,000 yards?
I did.
There's no way.
That is a hot take.
What? What bath salts are you and Cameron
It's going
collectively
to be like
smoking?
just over 4,000, but I think it's 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns.
I think it's more likely that Nick Mullins is in by half the year.
I mean, Nick Mullins did do well.
I mean, he didn't do
here's
that
the
bad.
thing. Like, Justin Jefferson's still going to perform. He's nearly quarterback proof with
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about
the shit that he went through last season and still performed.
Cameron said, also to touch on your Texans hot take, Richardson comes back from injury and gives Houston a run for their money. Yeah, that was.
I feel like
It's hard to say with Richardson, but we'll see.
I mean,
A lot of
there's
people
just
got
too
on
small
him.
of a sample size with
Yeah.
him. He's played like 3
He
games.
played like 4 games. Yeah.
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 We shall see.
All right. Well, next week we will be back again live on YouTube Wednesday. We usually are trying to get this started, be live by 8:30. I think we were a little late today, but I think I was just more of me and my technical difficulties. But I think that next week's going to be a really awesome week. We're going to preview all of week 1. We're going to talk about fantasy. We're going to talk about, the all the rage parlay we're going to be throwing out each week. We're going to take some good betting advice from the one.
We're going to be so fucking rich.
Yes.
Hmm.
We are going to
And so are all of you.
That's right.
Yes,
Just follow
of
us.
course.
And
Yes, of course.
You might win 1 or 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a lovely all the rage parlay. We're going to throw some of our staple bets. I personally am a big fan of, a bunch of different parlays, small amounts, good money. The life changer bet, the $1 for $1 million. And then I like to do a nice, easy over under that has a good chance. What I typically do is a $50 bet on that, double my money, and then I got my winnings to go to the next week. I have pretty good odds on those. I think I was like 14 out of 25 or something, 22, something like that last year. So not too horrible, but I'm going to get better as we go. So we're gonna post those up. We'll put that on our Twitter and our Facebook page, so you can follow us on there. Also, you can obviously catch us at all where you're finding your podcast, Spotify, any of your places you find your podcast, and you can go directly to our webpage at alltheragesports.weebly.com.
And hey, quick shout out. I don't know if you saw in the chat or not, but Mateus jumped in. So we
Mateus
are
is in
live.
there.
We are live in Sao Paulo, ladies.
We have
Yeah, I
officially
love it.
reached.
Well, not Sao
I saw
Paulo,
Mateus
like
is in there.
couple hours outside of it. Yeah.
Somewhere in South America.
Yeah, Mateus, if you're still there, 8:30 next Wednesday, your time 11:30.
Yes, we are back every week now. This is going to get really dynamic, especially when the season hits. I think also we're going to do our football picks on here and post it kind of against each other, so you guys can kind of follow along and see who is the best predictor as the season progresses.
So before we go, I just want to make one more point that I just noticed when I'm looking at these betting odds for the AFC champion. I don't have the NFC brought up, or I would tell you that too. But the longest odds for an AFC champion at the beginning of the season was the Cincinnati Bengals in 2021 at plus 5,000. So if you look at that, the opening of the season, the teams that we had in the AFC at plus 5,000 are the Colts, the Browns, the Jags were plus 3,000, the Raiders were plus 7,500. So those are the that is what the expectation was from the Bengals in 2021 when they went to the Super Bowl. Just an interesting thought there that teams like the Colts, the Browns, Jags, Raiders are all kind of in the mix to be the same kind of possibility. I mean, it's only happened. I think the last time there was a plus 1,000 or more was the 2001 New England Patriots. So that was how unlikely it was that the Bengals, how unheard of and just not predicted that was that the Bengals made it to the
I
Super Bowl
remember
that
when
year.
we saw them go to the Super Bowl, we were like, well, the Rams just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, sure did. Yeah.
Can you imagine being like the fucking bookie in Trenton, New Jersey, that got literally like okay, yeah, all these people are betting on this Brady kid, whatever. We're fucking safe.
Yeah, plus
And then
2,000.
they fucking tried out Adam Vinatieri, and the next thing you know, you're in pieces at the bottom of the Hudson River because you just lost.
Yeah.
You just lost the crime family $7.5 million in one night.
Yeah, it's just an interesting little thing I noticed that the betting odds. There was a couple plus 900s, and both of them were the Steelers in 08 and 2010.
They were a 6 seed when
And
they won.
yeah, but that was betting odds at the opening of the season compared to how they ended up. So I don't know,
It'd
a
be
little
interesting to
interesting.
see
Right?
what the Lions were to start last year.
Yeah, that's
very
yeah.
true. Well, thank you all again for joining us today. Like I said, we'll be back every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and find us wherever you find your podcasts. For Jesse Baden, Jace Junk, Jesse Smith, and Carly Baden, we thank you all once again for joining us. And remember, everyone, rage on.
Gabagool.